What is up, YouTube? We are back at it again with another vlog, and we're sitting because I always, every time I'm talking to my camera, I have my camera propped up on like window ledge and I'm leaning over and trying to talk to my camera, and I'm like, you know what, let's get comfortable because I kind of want to chat. I feel like I haven't really the way I said I feel like I haven't really chatted, girl, that's all we do is yap. But I wanted to kind of get comfortable and just kind of talk more about the first few weeks of this fat loss phase. I did my check-in this past Thursday, so that's why we are all situated and comfortable. We're in sweatpants. We have our cute little water cup. This is actually so cute. I got this from Winners. Seashells, super cute. The top is like wooden. It has this like straw, but I was so mad because look at this, such a cute straw. I was taking a sip of it and I'm like, what? This is weird. Why is there a hole? I don't even know if you can see that, but there's like a hole in there. But I'm like, you know what? Things could be worse. It's still cute and it still works. So anyways, let's get into it. Let's talk about it. I actually have a really funny story. So, okay, first things first, let's rewind to last Thursday. So I do my check-ins on Thursday. I think it just happened that way because when I sent my very first check-in to Paul, I believe I sent it on a Thursday, so I think we just stuck to that day, which honestly, it works totally fine with me checking in on Thursday mornings. So last Thursday was my check-in. I feel like the first few weeks of this fat loss phase felt so slow, and I'm like, okay, wait, like, are things even happening? My body isn't responding, like, what is going on? But honestly speaking, I really do think the reason why it felt really slow to start is because I have been in a deficit many times in my life, and this is even prior to bodybuilding. So for those of you that don't know, prior to bodybuilding, I competed in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. I have my blue belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, but I used to compete basically every single month. I competed at the World Championships, PANs, all of these high-level competitions. Jiu-Jitsu, if you don't know, depending on what weight class you compete in, you might have to cut weight. And I'm not gonna go into that, but I didn't really have anybody tell me the potential negative effects of cutting weight incorrectly. So with cutting weight in jiu-jitsu, I was absolutely in a deficit. Do have a YouTube video kind of talking about how I went from jiu-jitsu and transitioned to bodybuilding and all of that good stuff if you want to check that out. But I think what happens is because my body has been in a deficit before, my body, and this is how I think my body talks to me, my body was like, girl, you've done this before, we are not doing this again. And that's why I feel like the first few weeks are a little like slower. But last week, I really do feel like things are starting to click now. I feel overall a lot tighter, even just like after my training sessions and after my fasted morning cardio, which you guys saw the little me, like a high school boy flexing my abs in the mirror. But I definitely do feel like things are starting to click now. My body weight has been dropping steady every single check-in. Nothing drastic, which I didn't expect, nor do I expect. Yeah, things are working regardless, but I definitely did feel like the first like 4 weeks were just so slow, but I definitely do feel like things are picking up now. I do feel like my legs have really tightened up, especially in my glutes and my hamstrings, so that's really cool to see. And one thing that I love to do is just compare photos of myself from, let's say, last year versus this year, and just like take some time to reflect, to notice any changes, because I feel like sometimes we can get really caught up in just go, 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 go. And sometimes when I catch myself doing that, or sometimes when I catch myself like, ugh, like things just aren't working, or things are moving so slow, or whatever, because I also have those thoughts. That's when I really take the time to slow down, reflect on some previous check-ins, and just kind of see some positive changes. Because again, I feel like sometimes we can get so caught up in moving so fast that we forget to acknowledge how far we've progressed, and that's something that's really important to me. That was last week's check-in. In terms of updates, so prior to last Thursday's check-in, Cardio was at 4 times a week, 20 minutes, just incline walking on the treadmill, enough to work up a sweat. He increased it to 30 minutes, still 4 times a week, and food is going to stay the same. I got a question on my Instagram today, actually, and somebody responded to one of my, I'll post the picture here, and they're like, whoa, like, you're so conditioned, like, how many carbs you're eating. And I think it's funny because I feel like people automatically think if you're quote unquote shredded that you have to be eating like no carbs. Guys, I'm eating a good amount of food right now, and this is something that I talked about on my Instagram, but I feel like so far this fat loss phase prep, it is very different from my last few seasons. Keep in mind, this season compared to last, I'm definitely starting a lot leaner than I was. So the last season, I started with a lot lower food and higher cardio. Compared to this season, I'm still again eating a really good amount of food, and I'm doing pretty little cardio right now. So I think that's the main difference, the starting point. Now, this is just the start. Things are obviously gonna probably ramp up as we get closer into whatever show we're planning on doing once that's all locked in. Another question that I got actually on Instagram was, what's the difference between a fat loss phase, I'm calling it kind of like pre-prep compared to prep. And right now, I don't think I've updated this on my YouTube, but we have a show or a few shows in mind, but nothing has been like set in stone yet. So I think the reason why we're doing this, and honestly, I agree with it. Number one, this is my first time working with Paul. So he's gonna have to get an idea of how my body responds to things. So I feel like that's the main reason why we're doing this like pre-prep fat loss phase, is to kind of see how my body responds. So he can see how my body responds. Also to see how my body is looking with a little less fat before fully locking into a certain show. But after, I'm assuming we do this fat loss phase and he kind of has an idea of how my body responds to things, and also just to kind of take a look and see how my physique is looking, then we can commit to a show and then officially start prep. Honestly, I prefer this because I feel like it's taken a lot of pressure off of me because I don't have a certain show day in mind. We're still checking off everything that we have to do. And again, I personally prefer this way. Let's do like a little life update. This is a big yapping vlog. Just so you guys know, I feel like I've talked about this in, I think, past vlogs, or you've kind of seen, but aside from bodybuilding, I'm also a reformer Pilates instructor. I'm an online coach, and I'm also an in-person personal trainer. I just teach reformer Pilates part-time. Right now, I'm only teaching about 3 times a week. And then aside from that, my full-time job is my online coaching business. And then, of course, my in-person personal training. A little bit about me and what I do kind of outside of bodybuilding. But I think we're gonna end this vlog. Oh, wait, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. We're not ending this vlog here because after this little yapping session, I'm gonna do an outro, which you'll see after the next clip. But I'm going to take you guys through an upper body day because all of my vlogs are lower body days. But we trained upper body today, and I was really not in the mood to film anything, but I'm like, you know what, girl? Stick to it. You said that you were gonna film an upper body day, so we filmed an upper body day. Let me talk about my training split real quick. So right now I am training 5 days a week. I have 3 lower body days and 2 upper body days. My upper body days are both shoulders and back, and then one of my upper body days, there's a little bit of arms, so we got some biceps and triceps, but my shoulders and back are combined in my 2 upper body days. And then all my lower body days, now this is going to be kind of all over the place, but I have one of my lower body days, it is glute, ham, and quad focus, which is Monday's lower body day. Tuesday is upper, which is shoulders and back. Wednesday is my rest day, that's a full rest day. Sometimes I'll do cardio on Wednesday just to kind of knock it out of the, just get it out of the way. Thursday is another lower body day. So Thursday, I believe, is just glutes and hams. And then Friday is another upper body day, which is back and shoulders. And then Saturday is my final training day of the week, which is glutes and hams, I believe, again. Maybe there's quads in there, but I'm not too sure. Sunday is, again, another full rest day. So that's kind of my training split. I'm like, I don't think I've fully talked about my full training split, but that is my full training split. 2 upper, 3 lower. And honestly, guys, my glutes have grown so much. And do you want to know the secret? I mean, train hard. I hip thrust 3 times a week. So 2 of my lower body days, it's just double leg hip thruster, double leg. And then 1 of my lower body days, it's a B stance or staggered stance, so more like unilateral hip thruster. And I really do think that that is the secret to the glutes, just all of the hip thrusters, okay? That's probably one exercise if you're like, Mariah, I want to grow my glutes, do some hip thrusters, throw some hip thrusters in there, whether that's a staggered stance or your I don't know what to call it. Am I okay? You're just like regular hip thruster, but like throw some hip thrusters into your training split, into your training program if you want to grow your glutes. If you're not doing hip thrusters, do them, okay? But next clip, I'm going to take you guys through an upper body day. We're training some back, we're training some shoulder. So I totally just went on a walk, and while I was on my walk, I was like, shoot, I wanted to mention this to you guys. So we're gonna pretend I didn't forget to mention this to you guys, and I didn't just go on like a 40-minute walk. Anyways, we're back. So I wanted to mention because, look, we're all human. I made a mistake. I don't really know. Yeah, I guess it's totally a mistake, but so I've always weighed myself on this scale that I have at home, a non-digital scale. So it's like one of those older, the little dial. My last coach, earlier in my prep, I only weighed myself once a week, which was on my check-in day, which was either Friday or Saturday. So I only weighed myself once a week. But Paul wants me to weigh myself daily, which totally makes sense because it's gonna show trends throughout the week, because that's why it's important to know, friends, but your weight is going to fluctuate daily, weekly. So that's why sometimes you'll weigh in and your weight will be down, and then other times you'll weigh in and your weight will be up. So doing it daily, it's just going to give I always use my little old school scale, but I ended up purchasing a digital scale because I'm like, you know, it's going to be so much easier. It attaches to my phone. I can see the graph and all of that great stuff. It's going to be so much easier when I have to check in, yada, 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 yada. So anyways, long story short, my scale came in. It came in yesterday afternoon. So obviously I had water, coffee, a meal, this and that. And I'm like, you know what? Let me weigh myself. So I stepped on my scale. Why was it 10 pounds more? I can't even make this up. And low-key, I did kind of freak out a little bit because I was like, oh my gosh, that's not what I've been sending my coach. So I felt a little silly. I felt a little dumb. But this is why it's really important to trust your coach. Be open with your coach. They know, hopefully, they know, and they'll understand that you're gonna make mistakes. You're human. So what did I do? I sent him this like long, it really did not have to be that long, of an email basically just explaining to him the whole situation, and him being a great coach that he is, he responded and he was like, honestly, I'm not too worried. He said he's not worried about the number on the scale. It's just like the progress. So it's just kind of funny because I really was out here thinking that I was a certain weight when I wasn't. I'll just tell you guys. So I thought that I was around 120, turns out, which honestly makes more sense because I look at my physique, I'm like, I really don't think that I'm that light, but like whatever, like this is what my scale is saying. But anyways, right now I am this morning I weighed in at 129.6. The start of this fat loss phase, I was around, I guess 135, 134, around that range. And then yesterday's check-in, we were 129.6. So I'm really a big doofus, and I was out here thinking that I was 10 pounds less than I actually am. But it's fine, because again, we all make mistakes. I mentioned this on my story, but that's why it's really important to, when you're looking for a coach, or if you're looking for a coach, take your time and do your research. And that's one of the main reasons why I wanted to work with Paul, is because he has very similar values to me. I've always listened to his podcast and followed him on social media, and just seen, one, obviously the success from his athletes, but it's not even like, I think that's something where a lot of people get wrong, is when they're looking for a coach, they're like, okay, well, this person made the most pro cards, but take a look at their athletes and kind of see where they are now after getting their pro card. Because yeah, cool, it's great to get your pro card, but it's also important to understand that your health comes first. And that's something that's like really big to me, especially being a natural athlete myself, is that yes, obviously my goal is to get my pro card, but I want to compete in this sport for a very long time. And I see a lot of athletes, or I've seen like on social media and stuff like that, will get their pro card and then they're never to be seen again. That's not something that, of course, I want to do. Health is really big for me. And yeah, anyways, my values aligned really well with Paul's values, and I always watched his stuff and liked his coaching style and just who he is as a person and how he cares for his athletes. But that's why I always recommend, before getting a coach, like, do your research. Don't just work with this coach because they've gotten 100 IFBB pro cards. Ask. That's something that I did too. Like, don't be afraid to send a message to one of their current clients and ask them for their experience. And maybe not even their current clients, maybe even someone that you know that have worked with them. Just do your research before hiring a coach, and don't just hire a coach because they've made 100 IFBB pros or whatever the case may be. It's important to make sure that you get to know this person before working with them, because this is a very big process. Overall, just do your research before working with someone. Make sure they're the right fit for you, and then also make sure that you're a right fit for them. That's my little story that I wanted to include in here, because we're all human, we all make mistakes, and it's important that you have a coach that when you make these mistakes, when you fall, when you slip up, that you're not afraid to talk to them and just let them know. Because if they're a good coach, they're gonna understand that you're human, they're human too, we all make mistakes. And yeah, so that's that. I guess now I'm gonna show you guys my upper body day. Woo! All right, bye friends.
Aren't they so cute? Just at my local Starbucks doing some work, because lately I typically just work from home, but it just hasn't been the vibe. So I took myself on a little date and we're just doing some work at Starbucks.
That is going to be all for today's vlog. I hope you enjoyed this one. This one was a whole lot of yapping, but other than that, as always, if you have any questions, any comments, leave them down below. Feel more than welcome to follow me on Instagram, as again, I tend to post there a little bit more consistent. However, we are going to be putting up some vlogs at least once a week. Bi-weekly, once a week, okay? At least once a week. So you will be seeing more of me on YouTube. Other than that, I hope you guys have a great day, a great night, a great afternoon, whenever you're watching this, and we will see you in the next one.